Hi, it's Christy. Today I thought I would tell you a little bit more about my story, a little bit more about my journey towards what is love and why I'm so passionate about teaching healthy relationship skills. So I grew up in a home with a dad who hit, a dad who used his words in really ugly ways, and a dad who really didn't have any good example of his growing up of what healthy looked like. And so I think he sort of brought that into his relationship with my mom. I remember my dad being extremely jealous, to the point where he was pretty much on the lookout for anybody who was ever going to be maybe stealing his wife from him, and he was like 2 or 3 steps ahead. But I also remember him being very loving and being very affectionate and being very kind, so he had two sides to him, my dad. But he was also cheated quite a bit with my mother and with other women that he was married to. And so coupled with the violence growing up, I remember punches through walls, hair being dragged up the stairs by the hair, choking, kicking. I remember I was in a car one time with my dad and we were just leaving a restaurant, and he thought his wife was flirting with the waiter, which I think the waiter was just really trying to get a good tip and being nice to all of us. But that's not my dad's lens. We were in the car and he got so mad. My stepmom was actually in the car in front of us, and he just was pounding his fists on the steering wheel, and he accelerated and crashed into the back of her car. She was okay. But the police came to our house a few times. I bailed my dad out of jail a few times. So all of these early experiences, this first experience, or my understanding of relationship, was kind of skewed. So when I started dating when I was about 15, what kind of a dating partner do you think I was just sort of naturally drawn to? What kind of a dating partner do you think that I just sort of was familiar to me? It was somebody who was really jealous and really possessive and didn't treat me really well. And I sort of knew it wasn't okay. I never told anybody what was happening in our home. But there was this part of me that I think just kind of felt familiar. And I kind of felt like maybe that's just how relationships are, and that's what I'm deserving of. So it was difficult, from 15 on up to 18 and beyond into my 20s. Really, it was difficult for me to really have a deeper understanding of what healthy looked like. And I don't think you have to have come from a home with a lot of violence like I did to be confused about relationships. I had friends who had intact families. Their parents were still married, and they also had some real confusion around what was healthy. What did respect mean? What did loyalty mean? What did kindness mean? What did trust mean? I think all of these things are, very difficult to have a chance to understand when we really don't get much of an opportunity to learn what healthy is and then practice these skills. So it's just like learning how to swim. If you just jump into the water, but nobody's ever shown you how to kick your feet or paddle your arms or not get water up your nose, right? You don't know. So I remember let me finish my story. I was in my dad's home until I was about 16. And when I was 16, the violence in my home was getting really, really bad, not only with me, but my stepmom. And I was pretty sure that I wasn't going to survive it. So at 16, I ran away from home. And I couch surfed for a little while, slept in my car a couple of nights. But I was lucky. I actually had a loving grandparents that, for the first time, I told my story of what was happening in my home and just how violent my dad was and how scared I was. And my grandparents basically said, we love you. We're going to help you. We're going to help you get back on track. My grandmother in particular. So I was lucky. I had somebody to land. But dropping out of high school and, and getting a job and trying to pay for my car and, it was hard. So it took me a long time to get my high school diploma. And then I remember sitting in a class at City College. And I remember sitting in this class. It was interpersonal communications class. And we were talking about healthy communication. And I just burst into tears because I'm sitting in this class and I'm thinking, why aren't we teaching our young people these skills? Like, this would have been so helpful to me to help me navigate not only my early relationship with my dad, but the relationships I began to have with people that I was romantically interested in. And so I remember thinking in that moment, why aren't we teaching? So I've spent pretty much the last 25 years of my life really trying to figure out a way to get that kind of education into our schools, into our health classes, giving young people an opportunity to really learn these skills that I think would have made a huge difference for me. And giving them an opportunity to really practice what it looks like to have healthy. So one of the things that I want to say to you with this series is that I just leaned in with you, right? Like I leaned in, I'm leaning into the camera right now because this is a topic that I'm passionate about. And I really want to invite you to do the same. I want to invite you to lean into this conversation. This topic is private and it's uncomfortable. And I think for many, many, many years, it's been, oh, we don't talk about that, right? It's private. But in order for this to feel like you can start practicing and being curious about this and really building up your skills, having some skills that you can kind of tuck in your back pocket and walk away with. You want to lean into this conversation. So I really invite you to be curious with me. Invite your friends to be curious about this. Ask them questions. And I will look forward to our next conversation. Take care.